Good day, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar presented by Veolia Water Technologies. Today's topic is on-site biological solutions for small treatment facilities. My name is Ted Ralsey. I'm the editor of Treatment Plant Operator magazine, and I'm the moderator for this session. This webinar will outline solutions for on-site packaged biological wastewater treatment plants that process 5,000 to 200,000 gallons per day and that integrate easily with existing landscapes while requiring minimal energy and maintenance. The company's Ecosim treatment system is an efficient combination of a rotating bed biodisc unit and a moving bed biofilm reactor. It can easily be provided as a complete treatment system with the addition of ancillary components. For those who may not be familiar, Veolia Water Technologies is a world-leading specialist in water, wastewater, and biosolids treatment equipment for industrial and municipal applications. Its expertise is focused on preserving the environment, helping customers reduce their carbon footprint, optimizing water consumption, and maximizing energy resources as part of their ecological transformation initiative. Before we begin, you'll notice on the right side of your screen a drop-down menu titled Questions. You can use this function to submit questions to our presenter, and you can do this at any time during the program. We'll leave time at the end for our presenter to answer questions we've received. With that, let's begin. Our presenter today is Ashley Waples, a product manager with Veolia Water Technologies. Ashley has been with Veolia for 15 years and focuses on biological treatment solutions. At present, she's the product manager for the company's phased isolation ditch technologies, the Ecodisc rotating bed biodisc unit, and the Ecosim technology she'll be talking about today. With that, I'll turn the program over to Ashley Waples.
Great, thanks, Ted. As he introduced, today our topic is on-site biological solutions for small wastewater treatment facilities. So let's jump in. Today we'll be talking about a small introduction to the Veolia, our on-site solutions, our key benefits for wastewater treatment plants, our product offerings, the Ecodisc, as mentioned earlier, and multiple configurations, our Ecosim technology, which is our newest technology to market, some turnkey solutions that we've provided, and our piloting capabilities. So our on-site biological treatment solutions and package systems are all fabricated are all fabricated by Veolia. These are fabricated in France for all of our Ecosim and Ecodisc package technologies in the range of 5,000 to 200,000 gallons per day. Some of the key benefits of our decentralized small and medium-sized plants for these small and medium-sized wastewater treatment plants are that we're generally based in or near small communal zones. You can see in the picture over to the right that we have an Ecodisc pilot actually traveling across the water. That one is on its way to Bora Bora. So there's a lot of flexibility here for where we can reach markets. It's a robust technology, very chemically and environmentally resistant. And the process readily adapts to variations in hydraulic and organic loads. It's simple to operate, very minimal maintenance, and low odor and noise. So like we've talked about a little bit here, beyond just domestic solutions for municipal treatment clients, we also have some solutions for private clients. So our market is the small municipal wastewater treatment plants in the range under 200,000 gallons per day. Usually some applications in like the Middle East and Dubai, etc., those might tend to get a bit larger, but just functionally our best price point where we have our best market niche will be under the 200,000 gallon per day range for a packaged biological system. Over on the right is a picture of an installation that you can barely see our Ecodisc installed right here, where my mouse cursor is, at the base of a Benedictine abbey right on a lake, which is a really cool and beautiful installation to go visit. So just, just an idea, an application of how we can also provide services or installations for private clients like holidays or holiday resorts, hotels, small facilities, maybe camps, state parks, etc. Okay, and that leads us to poll question number 1.
What is a typical plant capacity you are looking at for on-site solutions? Select one or more of the following: less than 15,000 gallons per day, 15,000 to 50,000 gallons per day, 50,000 to 100,000 gallons per day, or greater than 100,000 gallons per day. We'll wait a few seconds to give attendees a chance to respond. Okay, let's take a look at our results. It looks like 40% have less than 15,000 gallons per day, and also 15,000 to 50,000, and about 25% split between 50,000 and 100,000, and greater than 100,000 gallons per day.
Great, thanks, Anne. All right, so sounds like most of you are here in the right range for our solutions. Moving on and getting into more of the details of our solutions, we offer 2 unique on-site biological solutions in our most on-site market. That being the Ecodisc technology, which is our proven rotating biological contactor, which you probably know as an RBC. We'll get into more details on that and some of the improvements and benefits of our system. And then our newest technology is the Ecosim, which is an advanced rotating contactor that combines some of the benefits of the RBC, the rotating contactor, with additional surface area by adding anox coldness media. So starting with the Ecodisc, the working principle of the Ecodisc is like any other RBC you would see. We have wastewater coming in. This is kind of a side view of our packaged Ecodisc. So we have wastewater coming in, and as the discs rotate, they build and grow this biofilm layer on the discs through a process of both immersion and immersion. So as the bacteria growing on the media comes out of the wastewater, the bacteria is able to breathe and absorb oxygen. And then when it's immersed back into the water, bacteria is able to degrade and absorb pollutant organic matter. Typically, we're seeing in the range of 3 to 5 times thicker at the edge than as it moved towards the center. As it's growing onto these individual discs. So this is just a representation of a single disc. With the RBC, we'll have multiple discs all attached onto a single shaft. Our standard size is a 2-meter disc that enables us to ship in shipping containers readily. So the most cost-effective and affordable shipping. And then again, the discs are only filled or in solution up to about 40% up the side of the discs. So as you can see here, before operation, we have a clean RBC discs. These are our biodiscs. So as we start to add pollution to the Ecodisc, you can see that the bacteria colonize and grow as they move along the Ecodiscs. So in this particular picture here, this is an actual picture at one of our Ecodisc installations. The flow would actually be coming from the right-hand side of our screen through the picture. So you can see the loading is a bit higher, and then it actually gets lower as it goes across as part of like the colonization of this bacteria. So when you have a plant with high pollution, you'll see more loading throughout, and then a plant with less pollution, you would see a lower loading that kind of decreases as it goes. So here's a really great picture of exactly what we're talking about there. So with our Ecodisc, we're able to have multiple compartments of these drums of rotating biodiscs. And you can see the progressive colonization of bacteria on the discs as they move through the process to the end. So some of our key benefits here. RBCs have not always had the best name in the industry. There's been shaft breakages, disc breakages, high maintenance, etc. So some of our key benefits and features here are that it's been totally re-engineered by Veolia in both Europe and then helped throughout the world. So we've decided to turn in hollow shafts, and we have a solid shaft design that the biodiscs are installed upon. So it's much less prone to breakage. In fact, that I don't believe that we've had any breakage. Our tank is also polypropylene with stainless steel reinforcement. So that provides excellent chemical and environmental resistance, especially when you're looking at installations near the coast with saltwater, etc., where you would have to go to a really high level of stainless steel to avoid corrosion. We have polypropylene that's still stainless steel reinforced, but none of the stainless steel is coming in contact with the environment. So much less area for us to have corrosion and damage. It's also a direct drive motor, so there's no belts to change or break. And a single motor here is able to operate the entire shaft. So one single motor turns the shaft for all the compartments of the biodiscs. Moving on, we have multiple configurations that we've added on to our Ecodisc technologies and packages. So the first one that I'll talk about is our Ecodisc filter, which is a combination of the Ecodisc with our drum filter. So any of you that are familiar with our Hydrotech technologies, this is very similar to our Hydrotech drum filter. In fact, we worked with them. So we've been able to incorporate our own drum filter in the same diameter as the Ecodisc and installed it on the same shaft as the Ecodisc so that we still have just a single motor operating and turning the entire shaft. It's able to allow us to go directly from the Ecodiscs, and in this final compartment here, we have the rotating drum filter that it acts as the solid separation, a physical barrier. It's suitable for continuous operation, and we have constant water treated. There's no, period of filling up a reservoir. In order to do a backwash, we treat the whole time as we're backwashing. And then, of course, energy savings by using just a single motor. The only other motor that we would have installed here is a motor for the backwash pump, which feeds these backwash nozzles here. And we'll take a look at that here in just a minute after we get to poll question number 2.
And now for question number 2, what effluent constituents do you typically need to meet? Please select one or more of the following: BOD, TSS, ammonia, total nitrogen, or total phosphorus. And again, we'll wait a few seconds to give our attendees a chance to reply. Okay, now that we've had the voting, let's take a quick look at our results. Looks like BOD is the top at 89%, followed by TSS at 82%, ammonia 61, total nitrogen at 46, and total phosphorus at 53.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, now I have a brief video to show that gives us a little bit better visualization of the Ecodisc filter that we were just discussing. So I'll start it here. Here is our Ecodisc filter. Again, it's a unique solution where we're able to incorporate both our biodisc technology with our drum filter technology. It can be installed both above ground or semi-buried or fully buried. So as you see, the influent from whatever source you have, we'll talk more about that here in a minute, the options there, begins entering the first compartment, and we actually have the ability to split between multiple compartments if loading is extremely high. And then it flows through the multiple compartments depending on the number of compartments. So some of the other key benefits of our technology are that you can have from 1 up to about 5 compartments of biodiscs that can still ship in a standard shipping container. So from there, by gravity, we flow into the inside of the drum filter. So this is an inside out technology where we're filtering out the wastewater, out the TSS and constituents from the inside, and then clean water is coming out. So any maintenance that you have to do on the exterior of the drum, which would be the backwash nozzles, et cetera, would all be done in filtered water. So you're not having to get into the mess of the actual process water. There you can see that we're backwashing off the drum, and sludge is collected through those chambers and flows out by gravity. And then effluent also flows out by gravity from the holding chamber. So from there, you can send your sludge to a digester, settler, any number of locations. All right. Another solution that we have as part of our integral systems packages is the Ecodisc with lamella settlers, our Ecodisc DL. So this one's similar to the Ecodisc filter. It incorporates a separation step with our biological step. Right here at the top right-hand side of your screen, you can see the lamella settlers. And so we are able, without any additional motor, to actually flow by gravity, and then utilizing a bucket wheel here after the last compartment of biodiscs to raise the water level and allow for us to utilize the same tank with just a separate compartment for lamella settling, where we can achieve approximately 30 TSS. Again, depending on what the influent constituents are. So beyond those two main additional configurations that we have to the Ecodisc, we have our new Ecosim, which is our newest approach to wastewater treatment. And both of those configurations, which include the lamellas and the drum filter, can be incorporated with our Ecosim as well. So the Ecosim is a very new approach to wastewater treatment. Beyond just a packaged rotating disc, we have a packaged drum, very similar in diameter and approach and configuration to our Ecodisc, but instead of discs, we have a drum that rotates, and we populate or fill the drum with annex coldness media. So it's very much like a combination of the Ecodisc and the annex coldness MBBR. And next we have a small video just to show a bit more detail on that. So again, like we've said, it's a combination of the Ecodisc and our MBBR technologies. Very similarly, it has a UV resistant polypropylene tank, a resin cover that's insulated, and then all stainless steel reinforcement. Again, fabricated, built, and designed by Veolia at our own facilities. So what does the package consist of? We have a patent and patent pending drum with UV resistant tank, and then it's a stainless steel reinforced frame for the tank, very much the same as our Ecodisc technologies. But again, we have the anox coldness media within the drum rather than biodiscs. Uses rotational movement, very much like the Ecodisc, to aerate and to provide the biological treatment for our processes. And then the key range of treatment here, our Ecosim is designed for BOD and ammonia removal, adding on TSS with either a millisettler or drum filter. And then, another option for any kind of total nitrogen limit, which it seemed like a few of you had, would be to add a pre-denite or post-denite MBBR, which we also have at Veolia. So the working principle of our Ecosim, as you can see, again, is very similar to the Ecodisc. It is surface growth. So the wastewater is coming in, filled approximately 40% of the tank, and the growth occurs on the media rather than on individual discs. We have the same, we have the same approach with immersion versus immersion phasing, where bacteria consumes oxygen as it's outside of the wastewater, and then it degrades and consumes organic pollutant load when it's immersed. It's all on a single shaft that's direct coupled to a motor, similar RPMs, and actually within our drum we have some proprietary or patent pending designs that allow for a perforated tube that help us to kind of trickle the pollution water, the processed water, over the media to help spread and distribute the organic load. So, like we've been stating, the fabrication and assembly of our Ecodiscs and Ecosims is all done by Veolia in a France fabrication facility. And so here is a picture of a brand newly constructed Ecosim model. It is, like we've said as well, a combination of both our Ecodisc and anox coldness designs. And here's just another view where you can see more of the perforated drum where we would allow wastewater to come in and attach and provide fixed foam growth onto the MBBR media. So some of the key advantages of the Ecosim is that it's a higher surface area and more compact than our traditional RBC Ecodisc solution. It's again very adaptable to seasonal variations. There's no blower usage. We have no external air, just a single gear motor. We also have no required chemical usage. It's a biological process that is utilizing rotation as its means of biological treatment. And this allows us to have a really very low annual operating cost. So also making it very simple and easy to maintain with minimal moving parts, minimal equipment to maintain single motor, shaft, and bearing gearbox. Again, very low noise and odor, and as we've seen in some of our other pictures, it integrates perfectly into landscapes, even with a green lid. So it looks really nice buried in a field, grass, etc. Or for gas stations, etc. In a parking lot, you could also landscape around it, and it would integrate very well. So like we've mentioned, it is a more compact approach To the Ecodisc, it's about 2/3 of the footprint or less. So where we would have 4 compartments with an Ecodisc, we would only have about 2 compartments that take up a little bit more space for an Ecosim installation that would still remove the same load. So it would be similar to the same surface area. Next up, we'll talk a little bit about some of our turnkey configurations. So this is when we start to look at all of the components that go in to your small on-site treatment facility. Again, all of this will depend on exactly what your influent constituents are and then what effluent criteria needs to be met. Typically, we would start with a bar screen if needed, depending on what's upstream, what kind of process is there, or what kind of raw influent we're seeing. This particular turnkey configuration, option 1 that we're talking about, is with a digester settler. So it would be in a location where you have some space for settling on site, and then you can flow directly into the Ecodisc or Ecosim and follow with our integral lamella settler or drum filter. These would be utilized when you have more stringent effluent TSS, BOD, etc. criteria. Then we would always recommend to include the lamella settler or drum filter for more solid separation. Another, excuse me, another configuration we can look at would be, again, a bar screen. And then if there isn't space on site for the digester settler, we could look at a fine screen instead, which we also offer directly from Veolia. We have some very unique solutions that are sized right in line with our Ecodisc technologies. And so we would follow that with an Ecodisc or Ecosim, again, lamella settlers or drum filter. And some of the other unique solutions that we've seen with Veolia are to go into reed beds. So rather than just surface discharge or sludge holding, we can go into a reed bed, which only has to be cleaned out, I believe, in the range of maybe a year or more, maybe even up to 10 years. It just depends on the size and the load. But a really nice, friendly way, ecologically friendly way to store and treat sludge, or a sludge silo. Another option might be if you have septic tanks on site. So we could flow directly from the septic tank into our Ecodisc or Ecosim and follow those with lamella settlers or drum filters. These could also be, if there's an increase in requirements at a small development or community, or maybe at like a lake community where septic tanks are more common, we could offer some more advanced treatment to remove additional pollutant biological loads with our Ecodisc or Ecosim units, as well as offer some more solid separation. And then finally, another option, a standard turnkey configuration, would be if there's an existing clarifier on site. From there, again, we can flow into the Ecodisc and follow with our incorporated lamella settlers drum filter and go to reed beds or sludge storage. So to wrap up here, the last thing that we have very exciting coming to the US now is our own Ecosim pilot unit. Ecodisc, obviously, it's an RBC technology. It's been around for many, many years, but as Ecosim is a newer technology to market, Veolia has a phenomenal pilot group in the US and in Canada, actually. And so we have been building our own Ecosim pilot unit that is installed onto a flatbed trailer with our own office space. Some of the options we have there are to use either 1 or 2 Ecosims in series, and then we also have an integral drum filter with it. So for different clients that might need some pilot testing done, we have the option to do that for you. as well as just to show it off if if need be. So this is very exciting. I actually started off in the pilot group for Veolia 15 years ago. So I'm very excited to come full circle and get to work on some pilot units again. From there, that's where I'll leave you all to any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ashley, for that excellent presentation. And now it's time to answer the questions that you've submitted here today. Remember, you can still submit your questions using the function at the right side of your screen. First question we have is, have these units been installed in cold climates?
Yeah, actually, where these units were initially developed was at the foothills of the French Alps. So we have a lot of installations around the Alps, cold climates down to just below 0 degrees Celsius. One of the key features here is that we can bury them and then maybe add some heat tracing, and it's really been a unique and beneficial solution. Anytime you're able to bury something and take advantage of some natural insulation. I think we were actually, there are a couple of sites where we were talking to the operator and they're like, yeah, we just go and shovel off the lid if we have to go look at it. You know, an operator might only have to go check on it once a week or so, depending on the location and maintenance requirements. So yes, absolutely, even with snow.
All right, next question. What are the advantages of using polypropylene over stainless steel materials of construction?
Yeah, so with polypropylene, for one, it's lighter weight and it does have more chemical resistance. You're not going to run into the same issues if you're in a facility right on the coast, where you would have salt water and you would have to have very advanced stainless steel construction. It's also more economically friendly.
All right, next question is there any aeration in the bottom of the Ecodisc unit to keep the biofilm from getting too thick or heavy?
Yeah, no, we actually do not use any additional aeration in our treatment system. So we design them to make sure that the loading is properly dispersed throughout the biodiscs or the Ecosim annex columnus media.
All right, next, is it possible to achieve total nitrogen removal with the Ecodisc or Ecosim?
So that is actually not something that we're currently able to achieve with our units alone, but we have incorporated our MBBR package solutions for some denitrification, either upstream or downstream, depending on the total nitrogen limits that you need to achieve. So no, but Veolia can certainly assist with incorporating additional package units. This is an aerobic process for both the EcoDisc and Ecosim, so no total nitrogen removal in general.
All right. Referring to the Ecodisc now, does this work with leaching water as well?
You know, that's a really good question. I would have to get back to you on that. I haven't looked at that application, but I will get with some of my counterparts and get back if whoever asked that question wants to send me an email, and I can look into that further.
All right. Does the tank for these units need to be buried?
No, actually it doesn't. So it's able to support itself as is. Burying it would just be if you wanted to either have a lower profile or offer yourself some insulation. But as is, it could just sit on a concrete pad or some kind of packed gravel, etc.
All right, again, referring to the Ecodisc, would the lamellas tend to get clogged with biosolids?
You know, I haven't seen that at the applications that we've had. We have some really we have some very unique methods for removing the scum off the surface. Obviously, it would depend on what you have, the constituents you have coming into the process. And the lamellas that we offer come in various sizings to allow for the proper loading to those lamella settlers. But that hasn't been an issue that I've seen.
All right, did you say that the Ecosim system can be coupled to a membrane treatment unit?
No, I didn't bring that up. It can be coupled with our same lamella settler or with a drum filter, though. I think that in any case, following with a membrane unit would be an interesting solution that I would really like to look into, though. So good food for thought there. I don't see why not. In a previous life, I worked with MBBR or with MBR, so maybe that could be an option if there's more stringent effluent criteria.
All right, next question we have is, what is the maximum raw water flow rate for Ecosim pilot units?
That one would be just hydraulically about 50,000 gallons per day for the pilot unit.
All right. Can air be added to the Ecodisc system?
I think that's something that we could certainly look into if there were specific needs there, but it's not something that we've done at this point. It would just be a matter of adding diffusers somewhere in the tank, which again, it could be done. It would require some designing, but it's not a standard offering that we have.
All right, next, what is the approximate horsepower of the 5,000 gallons per day Ecosim?
Yeah, that's really exciting. That's only about 2 or 3 horsepower for the drive motor. So very, very low installed horsepower.
All right. Can this system be used to replace an existing sequencing bioreactor plant with 2 SBR units and 1 equalization tank?
Yeah, it would depend on the size of those SBR units. Again, we try to stick to a 2 diameter disc just because that allows us to ship easily. We can go up higher to larger disc diameters, but with the current industry that we are all seeing right now, freight costs tend to shoot up. So whoever that is asking that one, if you want to shoot me an email directly, we can look more at that as far as the size that you have. As far as a direct replacement, again, we can go larger with the discs, but then shipping becomes a factor.
All right. Does Veolia have any of these systems installed in Texas?
Not yet. We don't have any installed in Texas yet, but I would love to do a pilot for you in Texas.
All right. Can you describe what the maintenance on these systems would look like?
Yeah, so it's just a motor and a gear drive. Typically, all that's required is annual greasing of the end bearing, oil changes on the gearboxes. An operator, as they're operating the system, typically would just go inspect the system, see what the growth looks like, etc. Maybe once a week. And then if you have lamellas, that may need to get just cleaned off once a month or so.
All right, pretty low maintenance units then. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any Are there any issues in obtaining NPDES permits for these types of systems? And what would be the typical effluent total nitrogen and effluent total phosphorus coming out the end?
Yeah, so again, as far as NPDES go, it would very much depend on what your criteria is. But total nitrogen and total phosphorus aren't removed in excess in just our EcoDisc or Ecosim alone. Whatever is non-soluble, so particulate, would get removed if you have a drum filter for the most part. But in order to achieve total phosphorus or total nitrogen removal, you would need some form of denitrification with like our packaged MBBR, a denite packaged MBBR, or chemical precipitation upstream. And we have dosed chemical precipitation for phosphorus removal upstream of the biodiscs. And then after a lamella settler, the total phosphorus achieved could be around 2. If it needs to be more stringent, then we would definitely recommend adding the drum filter or even our Hydrotech disc filters.
All right, Ashley, the next questioner asked if you would be the best contact if they have an application for which there's interest in exploring a pilot study.
Yes, absolutely. Please contact me, and I will work with you to get with our pilot group.
All right, next question is, have these systems been used in as pre-treatment systems for breweries, dairies, wineries, or similar applications?
You know, we've looked into that, and since it's a passive treatment system, the BOD removal does not tend to be as high as you would typically need for food and beverage. But if it happened to be a very small, like a micro brewery, we could look at that. It's just a matter of the pounds per day of BOD removal. You would have to start weighing that out, whether or not it would make sense to install your own facility or just discharge to a sewer and pay for that. But certainly in remote locations, we could offer some significant BOD or ammonia removal.
Okay, can you talk about redundancy requirements for these units?
Honestly, that would very much depend on the location. So as just direct redundancy is typically required by different municipalities or states. So that we could work with you in figuring out what the specific redundancy requirements. As for the process itself, there are not redundancy requirements. It's a pretty robust system. As you saw in the first screenshot of my presentation, they had a single EcoDisc unit at a Benedictine Abbey, actually. That was a very unique solution right on a lake, and no redundancy there. No redundant motors either.
Okay, and again, referring to the Ecosim, how would sludge that is not attached anymore to the columnist media find its way out of the drum?
Sludge not attached to the it gets flowed out of the back. There's like a sludge out the back. There's also a pipe for sludge removal.
All right. What about indoor installations of these units? Is that something you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point to talk about, because as an indoor installation, what we could offer, would be that this configuration has a tank up the full wall, and then we have a lid. With an indoor installation, we would be able to just have a partially built tank to about where my mouse is, my cursor is, and without any sort of spray, etc., because again, the rotation's only about 2 to 3 RPMs, you could get a more cost-effective solution from us, especially in some locations where maybe you did have extreme cold weather, beyond, significantly below freezing during the day for months on end, then you could put it in an indoor solution in a slightly more cost-effective without the lid.
All right. Are there any options for step feed or recirculation with the Ecodisc unit?
Yeah, we have looked at some, absolutely, depending on where or what your design criteria is. Step feed, we could feed into 1 or 2 compartments, and then recirculation could certainly be looked at, especially if we start to incorporate something like a D-night MBBR.
All right. Is there any, by any chance, would you have a map of where these units are installed that our listeners could access?
Not not that I have readily available. I want to say there might have been one in my presentation, but I can share that individually as needed. By far, the majority of them are installed throughout France, Europe, a good bit in the Middle East as well, with just a couple installations in the US at this time.
All right. It does appear that's all the questions we have. Ashley, is there anything you'd like to say by way of summation or some additional information you'd like to offer for people who might be interested in these treatment units?
No, thank you all so much for attending. I really appreciate all of the questions. It's helpful to hear the questions that you all have. And there was some really good insight there. So please feel free to email me directly with anything further. And I'd be happy to discuss.
All right, seeing there are no more questions, that will conclude our program. We hope you've gained insights that you can use as you consider wastewater treatment technologies for small communities and the role that these 2 units might play in your operations. If you have other questions for our presenter and the team at Veolia Water Technologies, you'll find instructions in the follow-up email that you'll receive. Thanks for your participation and have a productive day.